Also heard every hour on the station that's your easy choice. 95.9 FM WEZC. And to read the latest local news on your electronic device, including tablets, iPhones, and smartphones, go to DeWittDailyNews.com. DeWitt County's #1 source for local news is on the air, online, 24 hours a day.
Your friend in Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone today, Jack Myers with Social Security. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Good morning, Seth. I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Doing good. It's nice to have baseball back, and hopefully we're on the upswing to spring. But, yeah, just good to have baseball back and some games to watch on TV now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we get some warm days mixed in with some cool days. That's kind of the way it goes this time of year, right?
Yep, no doubt. Well, hey, I want to start, Jack, with, if it's all right with you, Financial Literacy Month and how Social Security ties into financial literacy. What can you tell us? What do you have for us?
Yeah, well, every April we celebrate Financial Literacy Month to promote financial education and well-being in the United States. And so, it's a reminder that Social Security is a vital part of any financial plan. If you're thinking about your financial plan and your financial well-being, I think it's important to consider Social Security, albeit most of the time part of your retirement plan. So maybe not something you're thinking of top of mind, but there are times when people need Social Security benefits much earlier than ever expected. Maybe a disability happens, or a tragedy and a death of a worker happens, and then family members might qualify for benefits. So it's always good to be thinking about Social Security as a part of your financial plan. And we've got some tools available on our website to help you understand your potential Social Security benefits and how they might fit into your financial future. So I would encourage people to go to SSA.gov, look for My Social Security, create that account if you haven't already done so, or log into your account if it's been a while, and take a look at your Social Security statement. It'll show you estimates of those future benefits. It'll give you an idea what you would qualify for if you were to become disabled, or what your family members would qualify for if you passed away. So that is an important part of any kind of financial plan. And Financial Literacy Month is a great time to kind of remind you, hey, maybe I should take a look at that. And if I haven't done that yet, maybe I should go ahead and set up that My Social Security account just so I can have an idea what I would qualify for in retirement. Hopefully that's what we're focusing on, right? I mean, that's the good part of this. We want to think about retirement and what we might qualify for down the road in retirement. But like I said, unfortunately, there are those other situations too where people become disabled or pass away and family members need to qualify, and those are also very important things to be prepared for and to talk to your family about, so that at least you'd have some peace of mind of knowing that they'd be taken care of if something happened to you as a worker.
Certainly. Very good. Now, you mentioned, Jack, that, of course, the My Social Security account, a great place to really get an estimate of where your retirement is and those sort, or your Social Security benefits are, I guess I should say, in relation to your retirement. But I know we've emphasized this in the past, and it's a big part of, financial planning in the future, is that, Social Security probably not going to be enough to live off of as you age. So let's speak to that a little bit and the importance of financial planning, but making sure Social Security is a part of that, but not the main part, if you will.
Absolutely, Seth. We hear a lot. I probably tune in a little bit more to that kind of stuff than your average person does. Just being an employee of Social Security and surrounded by Social Security, and you hit it right on the head. It's an important part of your retirement planning, but it's not going to be enough to be your only source of income. And Financial Literacy Month is a good time to start thinking about that, because the earlier you kind of realize and recognize that, the more opportunity you have to set aside other sources of income for retirement. What we hear a lot, there are a lot of metaphors out there about the three-legged stool of retirement. And I think it's a pretty fair assessment. It's a pretty applicable metaphor, if you will. A modern version of that three-legged stool probably looks something like Social Security being one leg, personal savings being one leg, and then some sort of pension or 401k or something like that, maybe even work for some folks, being the third leg of that stool. And when you have all three of those legs, then that stool becomes a financial or a stable financial base for your retirement. And, I think that's probably what the goal is for most people, right? I mean, we all hope to get to that point someday. And the earlier you start thinking about that and planning for that, the more likely that is to happen. Again, we've got some great tools on our website at ssa.gov to just help you understand what portion of that stool, if you will, your Social Security will become. And the more you know about that, the earlier you think about that, the higher likelihood of having that stable financial income package, if you will, in retirement you have.
Mm-hmm. Jack, I know this isn't on our notes for today, but wondered if you mind addressing. I know in the past we talk about, oftentimes women outlive men in terms of their, life expectancy, and even sometimes people outlive their savings and their retirement. Do you mind speaking to that at all?
Yeah, that is something that you have to think about statistically. If you look at statistics, women do typically outlive men. So I often make the argument that, Social Security benefits are perhaps more important to women than they are men. And it's not because they're different in any way. Social Security benefits are the same for women as they are men. But the reason I say that kind of speaks to the other part of your question there. One of the biggest fears that people have in retirement is outliving their money. One of the nice things about Social Security is that you really can't do that. There's not a predetermined amount of money that you're eligible for from Social Security. Once you become eligible for Social Security, you receive that payment plus any cost of living adjustments that are due to inflation for the rest of your life in a retirement situation. So that becomes really important to people with longer life expectancies. So, you might run out of some of those other things. You might run out of those personal investments or, other types of that, the other legs of that stool we were talking about. Mm-hmm. But you can count on that Social Security being there forever, essentially, for the rest of your life. And it's inflation protected because of the cost of living adjustment. So for that reason, I often describe it as potentially more important to women because of that more statistical situation where they tend to outlive men. But that's something that just kind of speaks to the importance of taking a look at your My Social Security account, getting an idea what your future benefits will be, and using that as part of your retirement planning.
Jack, excellent stuff. Did I miss anything? I know I kind of threw a curveball there at you towards the end, but anyways, did I miss anything you wanted to put out there about that topic?
Nope, we covered it. Thanks.
No worries. Very good. Jack Meyer, Social Security, our guest on the phone today here for this morning. Jack, let's dive into some basics about Social Security eligibility for supplemental security income, often known as SSI, or even Social Security benefits in general. What do you have for us here this morning?
Yeah, so we administer a couple different programs out of our Social Security offices. Of course, we have the Social Security benefit programs, but then we also have the Supplemental Security Income, SSI. And sometimes people don't realize that it is potentially possible to get SSI even if you already receive Social Security benefits. About 2.5 million adults and children get SSI and Social Security at the same time. Now, we pay Social Security benefits to workers and their eligible family members based on the worker's earnings. So the amount that you get from Social Security or the amount that your family members who are eligible get off of your record is going to be based on the work that you did and the Social Security taxes that you paid, and the amount's going to be based on that. SSI, on the other hand, is a needs-based program that provides payments to people with little or no income and few resources. In order to qualify for SSI, people younger than age 65 must be blind or have a disability and meet the SSI income and resource limits. People 65 and older must meet SSI income and resource limits, but do not have to have a disability, so you can get those on the basis of age. About 1.4 million people who are 65 and older receive both SSI and Social Security. So, when I said before about 2.5 million, that included kids who get SSI, but about 1.4 million people who are 65 and older get SSI and Social Security. So how might that be? Well, that would be a situation where a person worked enough to qualify for some Social Security, but their Social Security benefit was low enough that they were able to get some additional SSI on top of it. So basically right now, the SSI federal benefit rate is $967 per month. So if your Social Security benefit is less than that, you can potentially get some SSI as well, as long as you meet the other income and asset guidelines. And we are talking about gross Social Security benefit amount. So that would be before any deductions for Medicare or anything like that. And basically, Seth, when you look at the eligibility for it, for SSI, we can exclude up to $20 of your Social Security income. So if you were eligible for both and you had no other income, you could potentially get up to $987 a month between the Social Security and the SSI programs.
Now, what are the when it comes to SSI resource limits and those sorts of things, Jack? What do we need to consider there?
Yeah, so for the resource limits, basically it's going to be anything that you own that you could exchange for cash to support yourself. But there are some things we can exclude. We can exclude one vehicle, and we can exclude the home that you live in. So sometimes people think if they own their own home, they're ineligible, but that's not true as long as you live in that home. Once we get past those exclusions, basically the limits asset-wise or resource-wise, $2,000 for a single person, $3,000 for a married couple. So admittedly, those aren't very high. Those are pretty low resource limits, but that's kind of the nature of that SSI program. It is a needs-based program. Mm-hmm. The money for SSI comes from federal taxes, but it doesn't come from federal Social Security taxes. So it's important to kind of note the difference there. The Social Security benefits are paid from the Social Security taxes. The SSI benefits are paid from the general federal income taxes.
Good to know. Good to know. Very good, Jack. Well, a lot covered there. Did we miss anything that you want to put out there for us?
The only other thing I'll mention, Seth, is we've got a lot of info on the SSI program on our website. So if you go to ssa.gov/SSI, you can find out more about that program, including a little bit of additional info about who might qualify and what it takes to be eligible for the SSI program.
Sounds good, Jack. Well, I'll tell you what, let's take a break here, come back with some more. Jack Myers, Social Security, our guest on the phone today. More to come with Jack on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Thursday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. We start the day in the red with corn, beans, and Chicago wheat. And actually, soybean trade double-digit lower to start the day. May corn 453 down 4 3/4. July corn down 4 3/4, 460.5. New crop December 444 3/4 down 4. May beans 1006 down 23.5. August beans down 24.5. 1018 3/4. New crop November 1012 down 25 1/4. May Chicago wheat 534 3/4 down 4.5. July wheat down 4. 548 3/4. September wheat 564 down 4. May bean meal 285.90 down $1.30. May bean oil 46.26 down $2.24. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. This is what we do every day. We listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that's knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
SIU Family Medicine wants the best health for you and your family. Be a champion. Protect your loved ones. The SIU Center for Family Medicine of Lincoln is accepting new patients. Click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com to schedule your appointment.
Hi, I'm Brett with Central Cremation Center, and we proudly serve all of Central Illinois. We offer the most affordable and convenient arrangements in the area with plans starting at just $795. Many of our plans are available by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest on the phone today, Jack Myers, Social Security. And Jack, let's dive into talking about proving your identity for Social Security. What's this? What's it all about?
You know, Seth, this is an important topic that I want to make sure listeners hear and understand, because we have been getting a lot of phone calls about this. I think there are a lot of misconceptions out there. People think that a lot of people, everybody, are going to have to come in and prove their identity to continue getting their Social Security. And the reality is that that's simply not true. It is not true that everybody has to come into a Social Security office to prove their identity. So what is happening is Social Security is strengthening the process to prove identity related to direct deposit information. This is going to apply to individuals who need to provide initial direct deposit information when applying for monthly benefits, and to people who are already receiving benefits if they need to change their direct deposit information. But there are some exceptions when it comes to filing for initial benefits. So basically, certain types of applications are still going to be able to be done over the phone and will not require a person to come into a Social Security office. Those are going to be Social Security disability applications, SSI applications, Medicare only applications. So those folks will still be able to apply over the phone if they want, and won't have to come in and verify identity. The people who are going to have to come in and verify identity are going to be the people who are filing for retirement benefits, spousal benefits, surviving spousal benefits, children's Social Security benefits, or those who need to change direct deposit. Now, an exception to coming into the office in those circumstances will be anybody who can do those things through their My Social Security account. So if you go online at ssa.gov, you create your account, you go through identity authentication procedures when you create your account and each time you log into your account. So by doing that, you are proving your identity and would not have to come into an office to complete those changes. Now, a few of those things that I mentioned, you can't do online. So if you're on SSI, you can't do a change of direct deposit through your My Social Security account. If you're applying for a survivor benefit, you can't do that through your My Social Security account. So there are some circumstances there where people will have to come in, but we can talk you through that. You can still file your application over the phone. We'll have some procedures in place for you to come in and verify identity. These changes go into effect on April 14th. We have a ton of information on our website. So if you go to ssa.gov, when you get there at the very top, there's a link that says what to know about proving your identity. And there are a lot of frequently asked questions. I would encourage you to check that out. Take a look at it. I've gotten a lot of calls over the past couple of weeks from people who are pretty concerned about this. And I do just want to make sure that everybody understands this is not something where every person is going to have to come into Social Security to prove their identity in order to continue receiving their payment. Again, there are some misconceptions out there that is what's going on, and it's simply not the case.
Very good. Good information there, Jack. And again, anything we didn't touch on there you want to put out there for us?
If you need information about how to find your local Social Security office, we have a locator on our website. It's ssa.gov/locator. So don't be afraid to check that out. But again, take a look at the what you need to know about proving your identity, frequently asked questions section at ssa.gov.
Very good. Hey, Jack, I got about 3 minutes, so we've got time to hit on this. Representative payees helping manage your Social Security. Let's dive into this. I know we get to this every now and then. How about it?
Yeah, it's a program that we have here at Social Security where, if a person who is receiving a monthly Social Security or SSI benefit gets to the point where they need help managing their money, we have to appoint somebody that's known as a representative payee. So, sometimes we receive information that indicates you need help, and we can work with you to find the most suitable representative payee. Your payee is someone who receives your monthly benefit on your behalf, and then they are required to use that money to pay for your current needs. If you need help managing your benefits, you're going to want to have a person that you trust apply to be that payee. And ideally, that it's going to be someone that you see often who's in position to easily help with those needs that you have. If you don't have an individual in your life who can do that, there are organizations such as social service agencies, nursing homes, or others that can do it. But we also have something that came about over the last few years called advanced designation. So when you apply for benefits now, we ask you about this. We ask you, if you should become ineligible, or not ineligible, unable to manage your own affairs, do you have somebody that you think would be a good candidate to do that? And, sometimes people will tell us their spouse's name and contact info, or their adult children's name and contact info. And it's a great idea to do that, because then what happens is if you become incapacitated and somebody doesn't know about that necessarily, we have names and contact numbers for people that you told us at one point would be good candidates. We could get in touch with them. So basically, it just kind of gives us a lead, if you will, of somebody to turn to. It is not a requirement, though. You do not have to identify somebody, and you can change it. So if you name somebody to be your advanced designee, to be your payee should something go wrong, and then you have a falling out with that person, you can take them off that list. So it's not a permanent thing, nor does it make any kind of suggestion that you need a payee. You naming a payee potentially down the road, or doing an advanced designation today, does not suggest in any way that you need it. It's just something there in case you ever do. So you'll also get, and we get some questions about this, Seth, you'll get a letter about that if you choose to waive that and say, I don't want to do it. You'll get a waiver of advanced designation when you file your application. Don't be confused by that. It's not really a big deal, but sometimes people think it is.
Sure.
If you want more info about that, ssa.gov/payee.
Jack Myers, Social Security, our guest. Network news on the way.
The Big 15.